All right, and we are go for pell work with Jay. And I'm going to let everyone in if you're ready.
Ready to go.
All right, here we go.
Hey guys.
It sounded like a Logan.
Hey, yep.
All right, we've got 13 people joining. All right, I got to run, guys.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Gustav. Appreciate it. Cool. Got everything in order on my end. Are we good to get rolling?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a quick announcement. Just as Gustav mentioned last week, and he kind of reiterated to us before you guys logged on, if there's any bandwidth issues, it is not going to be something where one person getting off will make a difference. It's an independent connection for the service we're using. So it's going to be anyone that's showing as having a bandwidth issue, it's going to be on that individual's bandwidth. So stick it out, hang in there, and please stay with us until our practice is over. And Jay, it's all yours.
Awesome. Appreciate it. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Elias de Jaye. We'll be going over pell work today, specifically kind of looking at it from a sports side aspect, what we can take from other sports to kind of up what we can do here in the SCA. First off, we're going to start with a bunch of theory stuff. We'll probably be boring for about 15 minutes, and I promise we'll kick over into something a little more fun. So starting off, why pell, what is pelling, how to make a pell. I personally use a Wavemaster XXL, as seen behind me. That's easy to just buy, and they work really well. I've used a rope pell before. There's tons of guides. I won't be directly going over that, but if you don't have one, obviously, I would recommend getting one, and can post some links to follow. Basically, why pell? SCA Combat, whether you consider it a sport or not, it has a lot of sport-like qualities, and it's hard to really think of any other sports that don't make drilling a focus. If we can shoot any comments into the chat, if anybody's done any outside sports in high school, college, intramurals, pickup, recreational, and kind of what drilling aspects were incorporated into that, go ahead and post those, and we can go over those here in a couple minutes. This definition from B. Rushal, published at South Dakota State University, he defines it as drills are repetitive training activities which do or do not use equipment. They are intended to simulate a part of a complex movement, example given an upper arm movement, or an elemental segment of a movement chain, example given the transition from a takeoff to a jump. They train activity parts out of context. So that's a couple key parts that I'm going to be going over quite a bit. Is specifically they simulate a part of a movement chain, and they train activity parts out of context. From the Space Cowboy Sports blog, the importance of drills lie in the effect that they have on muscle memory. To achieve excellence in sport, an athlete must be able to move freely without conscious thought, knowing exactly how to respond and having their different muscle groups instinctively react. An athlete almost needs their body to react automatically. This level of muscle memory is the result of teaching the muscles how to perform by repeated practice until that activity can be completed without having to think about it. Where this comes in is Taekwondo forms. I've got one comment here, is a great example in tournament, in practice, in competition. I'm not a Taekwondo practitioner, but I mean, if you are having your entire mind dedicated to remembering what you're supposed to do, you're not going to do as well as if you're able to be clear of mind and focus on, what specifically you need to perform in that moment. For myself, played football, wrestled, and football specifically, on defense, you can't you can't have to think about what you're doing in every moment. You have to have your eyes up and, instinctively get to where you need to go as quickly as possible. So, and also, aside from the sports reference, it's not just sports. Simulated drilling occurs in music, art, and technology. Anybody who's in choir, choral scales, or practiced in bands, and, as well in technology and welding. If you go to welding school, you don't, start off and at the jump, you get 2 pieces and you weld them together 1,000 times. So you can kind of get that innate muscle memory. You could do it you could do it blindfolded or woken up in the middle of the night. So drilling is a great way to try to take your conscious mind out of exacting performance. When you're trying to throw a shot, you're not worrying as much about the how do I do it, and you can focus on the why and the when. So getting into the grid of this, it's a little more theory based, but why drill is a main reason is eliminating nominal failure rate. And what I mean by that is the best example is a brand new fighter. If somebody shows up to their first fighter practice, they sign their waiver, they get a helmet on, and you're showing them, they're going over shots. They're not ready to fight yet, but they're just starting. And you're like, all right, this is how you throw a flat snap. They're learning how to throw it. This is how you throw a chop to the head. And you're like, all right, go ahead and chop me in the head. There's a high percentage chance that they won't be able to throw any chop at your head that would kill you at a SCA standard, rate. So obviously that goes away very quickly, but even at mid to high level of fighting, depending on the more complicated shots you throw, there's still a failure rate. It might be 2%, it might be 10%, but I mean, there's the chance that shot you threw without any outside interference, wouldn't have been good due to connection power, whatever we want to call it, or 2, would have been off target. It could have landed low. It could have landed, off the mark and just completely missed. So pelling specifically is a great way to reduce, if not try to eliminate eventually, that failure rate. As we get into this also, pelling is not the end-all be-all. It does not replace fighting. A great advice I had when I first started coming over into the SCA and fighting was asking His Grace Xerxes, what can I do? Like, what drills can I do? What do you guys do? How can I get better? He's like, go fight more. Like, there's not a magic answer. No amount of drilling will replace helmet time. So try not to replace it, but it definitely has importance. If I can share this link into the chat real quick, I've got something I'd like everybody to take a look at. Bear with me just a moment. I'm checking the chat if anybody had any sport interactions or stuff sport interactions that they practice drilling in. We can definitely go over those real quick. From Matsu, first-person shooters are good for reaction time and critical thinking. Absolutely. So I'll go over that, but that's one of the articles I'm referencing. I just posted there in chat. So basically, we've got this chart that is the 7 steps for mastering a skill. And we'll start with that kind of entry-level first day fighting. The first level is to perform the skill. It's the bottom. We're talking 1 through 7. This is the chart. You can go and scroll on down. That rating's good, but this chart's listed in that article. That's what I'm referencing right now. So if you guys can scroll to that as well. The first step is performing. can the athlete perform the skill? That there has to be coaching. Nobody can, magically show up and learn shots. There's a level of coaching to it. The second level is perform very well. I'm going to kind of blaze through these. This is good reading on your off time, but I'm just referencing it for the class. The second level is to perform well, given no other structures. Just can you slow work at a pell, throw the shot correctly? Level 3 would be to perform well at speed. Adding in an element of speed makes doing it correctly more difficult. Level 4 is perform very well at speed and under fatigue. This is something that I've struggled with. I know everybody that fights heavy, armor starts weighing on you, helmet starts, restricting your breath, and it gets a little tough. So can you perform it well at speed? The 5th level is performing well at speed, under fatigue, and under pressure. When you add in the pressure of, be it against a live opponent in a fighter practice or in a tournament, perhaps, or a melee, that can that can definitely add in another level. And people that could throw the shot 100 times perfectly at the pell might have a level of difficulty once the shot matters. You have to throw it right that one time. The 6th level is perform very well at speed, under fatigue, and under pressure consistently. This is the biggest plateau I feel people hit is, and myself included, is, on trying to make sure when you fight at a tournament or a practice or whatever your instance is, that you can keep that consistent level. Being able to fight at a high level consistently is what I feel really separates the top level fighters from really good fighters. Is the highest level fighters in our game are good all the time. You could wake them up at 2 a.m, be like, hey, put on your armor, we're going to fight, and you're going to be in for one. And the 7th level, the highest level of mastery, is perform very well at speed, under fatigue, and under pressure consistently in competition situations. So not just practice where it doesn't matter, and typically not in a melee where you just res again, but in a single life, or more specifically a tournament where you're in a full-blown competition. Checking from Moon. Sir Sagan's lectures on practice versus training are awesome as well. I haven't seen those lectures specifically, but I'm familiar with practice versus training mentality, and absolutely, there definitely is a difference between the two. So definitely read through that article as you can. We'll kind of, sorry to bore you guys with a bunch of theory, but this is just kind of how I approach it and kind of why any of this matters at all. What pelling is used for. A lot of people will argue, I've argued before, pelling is about shot placement and shot precision, or pelling is about endurance and being able to fight, all day. Pelling is about power and learning how to hit hard. The answer to all of those is yes. You can customize your pell work to focus on what you specifically need to improve at. There's nothing holding you back. You typically pell alone. You can work with others or write your own programs to gain in areas that you specifically need. Take a quick pause here for any questions. I kind of blazed through a bunch of theory there I wanted to get over before we got into actually hitting the bag. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, anything I can clarify?
I think you're good.
All right. So moving on specifically with everything, it's important to remember this is really, most people know it, but it's hard to do in practice. Practice makes permanent, not perfect. If you are practicing bad technique, it's going to get set in, and it's going to be more complicated trying to get rid of that later. A lot of common mistakes that I've done myself and have had to fight my way out of and seen other people do as well. Standing at the pell flat-footed, not actually fighting the pell. If you're doing something really specific, it doesn't matter, but for most of the time you want to fight the pell as if that's an opponent. Never using your shield or other weapon is another huge one. It can set up a lot of problems and bad habits if you're used to not holding a shield or not holding your secondary weapon or whatever else you're using, whatever weapon system you're practicing. When you throw a shot and your shield's sitting down low or your sword is in the way, whatever it might be. So I don't do it all the time, but you definitely want to work it in to make sure that is a part of your muscle memory. Tonight, I'm not going to be, for the most part, just to kind of show a better angle and not have a shield blocking my arm and torso as much, but definitely keep focus on that. Swinging for force all the time. Again, you can use the pell to train to swing with power, but swinging full force at the pell all the time is going to decrease the time that you can pell just due to endurance and arm strength, which is going to reduce your overtraining level. On the compound is swinging with no force all the time. If you are tippy tapping your pell every time you practice, you're not going to swing at an SCA minimum. So it's good to kind of keep those strikes. If you're not swinging for power, make sure they're near callable, just so your baseline, you can always go up, but you don't want to instinctively not be swinging in the context of the game we play. Another one is always fighting at the perfect range. We'll get into this with some drills later, but if you always swing a perfect shot exactly at the pell at exactly the range that works the best for you, your height, arm length, sword length, whatever, you are not practicing real fights, because obviously the goal is to set that up, but 9 out of 10 shots you throw are not going to be at the exact perfect range. Not altering angles is another one. And most importantly, kind of the gist of all this is being afraid to experiment. Everything, the drills we go over is stuff that I like to do, stuff that works for me, stuff that I've seen and been taught. By no means is anyone restricted to doing that. The pell is about self-discovery, learning what works for your body, what works for your skill set. So don't be afraid to experiment and kind of think outside the box. So getting out to why these mistakes are so deadly. Another quote is, in fatigue, the body seeks to maintain a level of functional output by recruiting extra resources. If there are movement patterns developed through drills which are either cognitively or conditionally associated with a competitive skill, the recruitment will first gravitate to those strengthened options. When fatigue starts, an athlete will start to perform with many characteristics of doing a drill rather than maintaining a high degree of competition-appropriate movement function and performance. When extra resources are recruited in fatigue, the recruitment is not done gradually or by degree. It occurs suddenly and relatively completely so that obvious changes in performance occur. Since drills do not train total function, when a drill movement is recruited into a contest, it should be expected that performance will deteriorate rapidly, dramatically, and obviously. That just gets into a more complicated way of saying that if you fought heavy, everybody's been there, you're in a practice, whatever it might, melee, and at a certain point, you're tired, you're sweating, you're ready to be done, and you're like, I'm just going to throw a shot, and you start throwing shots. Or you might be not in a good fighting mindset. You're in I'm just going to throw a few shots and see what happens. And you walk up and throw shots like you're at a pell and not like there's a live opponent in front of you. So trying to minimize that gap between what you throw at the pell and what you throw at a fighter practice or tournament or melee or whatever it is that you're practicing for can really go a long way. If anybody's got any comments on that, a time or instance they've kind of abandoned a proper fighting mindset when the fatigue hits you and you're like, well, here goes nothing, and just started throwing shots. I've definitely done it. It's not how you win, and at the pell, it's not how you get better. So I am mostly wrapped up with theory stuff. Once again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them in. But otherwise, we're going to move over to some drills that work for me, and I would definitely recommend everybody take a look at trying. Bear with me here getting this going. Okay, so this is coming through all right. I had a little bit of audio issues earlier, so I'm trying to speak up. If anybody can't hear me, please comment, and I'll try to address that. All right, so starting off, the 1 through 6 drill, I put out a video on this earlier. Most people are familiar with it. It's not super complicated, but it is a great baseline, and a lot of the other drills kind of stem from there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but the basis of it is that there's 3 target locations, being the head, body, and leg, and you're starting with 1 on your onside. So a 1 would be an onside leg, a 2 would be an onside body, a 3 would be an onside head, 4 would be offside head, 5 would be offside body, 6 would be offside leg. Throwing those, you typically start with, why are my shorts so short? They're very comfy, and that's why I like training. So the 1 through 6 drill, you're starting with a 1, you're throwing 1, and then 1 again, 2, or you throw, so 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4 throughout the cycle, and then move to 2, 1, 2, 2. If you don't know it, look up the drill. But the main reason that is really useful is, 1, the delivery of shots. It's a great way to just get volume in. If you complete that and you run it each hand, run it the other way. If you run it each hand, 7 sets is 1,000 shots, a little over 1,000 shots. So when you're throwing that, you want to make sure you're in a good guard, make sure you're in a good shape. Typically, Sir Tato from Amp Guard recommends a 90-90-90 kind of mindset, which is a 90-degree angle to start from your forearm to your bicep, a 90-degree angle from wherever it is, from your bicep to your torso, and then make sure your body is at a 90-degree angle perpendicular to the ground. So you're not leaning too far or leaning too far back. Get in a comfortable fighting stance. And the main focus is volume, making sure you're throwing you're not throwing super hard, making sure you're throwing with good technique and good structure, and focusing. You can do it really slowly as well, focusing on the delivery, and I feel more importantly the recovery of the shot. You're trying to recover those shots, throwing and recovering it back in that same plane to get back to that shape, there so you can deliver again. So you're not throwing and recovering down around your body. You're not throwing and rodeoing up over your head, but you're able to deliver a crisp shot, get back to that shape, and throw another crisp shot. I put out a YouTube video I can link, or it was posted in the Kingdom channel that goes over that drill in depth. Definitely worth checking out. Another option is doing Tabata pell work. His Grace Dietrich von Stroheim really popularized this in terms of SCA application, and I think it works really well. You can download a Tabata drill app on your phone, which is going to run you. You can set it for however long you like, but it runs you in a high-intensity interval training set of 20 seconds on and a 10-second break. So you can set shots that you like. So say you're working say you want to work a fake face stab fake to a leg chop, onside leg chop. You can go through and have a list of drills you're working.
Hey, Jay, we lost audio for a second.
that works endurance as well as comfort. All right, just had a internet notification pop up. Let me make sure everything's good on my end.
Yeah, if you could just repeat what you just said. We lost audio briefly.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Had a little reconnection. Was just going over that Tabata Pell work is working on comfort and endurance. You're getting a nice volume of shots. You're getting kind of fatigued and getting a good sweat going as you're going and getting comfortable with it. Popularized by Dietrich, as I said, he recommends 80% speed and 50% power. You're trying to do this for a stretch. You're trying to, kind of keep that energy up. But if you're doing it full force, you're not going to make it through your sets. So 80% speed, 50% power. You can play with that to what you like, but that's what he recommends, and that's what I try to do. Again, that's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, high intensity, and that's typically 8 sets. So eight repetitions of that. So a full set of it would be 4 minutes long. Now these are ones that I've kind of adapted from Jason Van Veldhausen from Precision Striking. These are boxing drills. A lot of fighters, if you have experience in boxing, it helps. Experience in wrestling, it helps, but you don't have to. These are, I look at it that we can really take stuff from other sports that have millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of hours invested into researching training methods and researching I got lost audio. Can you repeat? Is audio coming through okay now?
Yeah, that was someone posted that when I was talking to you.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry about that. So if we take stuff from there's no reason not to kind of steal from other sports, take things that they do well and transmit them to what we do. It's still a striking-based game. So one option for that is high-low-high, and I will post this either after. I can post it now. So you're picking. You can throw any shots you want, but you're trying to throw at different quadrants. Different levels. So you can throw it just kind of at will. Pick a shot that you like that targets the head. Pick a shot that you like that targets lower body or leg, and then throw back at the head. So you can repeat and mix that up every time you throw. So you could throw say flat snap, onside leg, offside head. So you walk up to the pell and you throw 3. So now we're going high, low, high again. It might be a moulinet to the head, offside leg, back to the head. And rinse and repeat that. And that kind of helps you discover new combos that you like. And specifically, that translates really well from the 1 through 6 drill. If you've done the 1 through 6 drill for a time and you found combos that you like, start incorporating those, doing high, low, high, and low, high, low. Another one is a range drill. We typically in SCA consider A range being body to body, B range being that sweet spot, C range being edge of reach or just reach with a step, and then D range being it would require more than just one step to strike the target. So you can throw the same shot at different ranges to get a feel for how it lands. So typically you could do it A, B, C, B, A. So in this example, say we throw a leg wrap. I can stand close to it in A, throw an A range leg wrap. Back up, throw a B range leg wrap. Back up, throw a C range leg wrap. Back up and maybe take a step and throw a fishing line. Come back into C range. Come back into B range. Come back into A range and throw that same shot. And you can do that with flat snaps, throwing it backing up. You can do that with any shot, but just getting a good feel for how the shots are different at range. This gets back into that mistake of throwing all your shots at the same range. You could have the best flat snap in the world from here, throwing a great flat snap. But if the fight is taking place here, you don't have room to throw that. You have to adapt. So pelling can add those. Pelling just adds more options into that pool. Another option is passing strikes, throwing on obliques, throwing on angles. So in this drill, you would be taking a step in either direction as you throw a strike. So what shots are comfortable off a one step to the oblique of a pell? I know my audio is going to be bad. I'll move away, but I'm going to stand on the other side of the pell so you can kind of see me moving on an angle. If I'm standing here, you can step and throw. Step and throw. Using that angulation is a great way to figure out what shots you like on those obliques. And a lot of the times, those transition shots that you throw while moving in an angle are your killing blows. Number 4, do an in and out. This one is, again, sorry if I'm blazing through these. If you have any questions, please comment. I'll post this list. I'm just kind of going through options. Again, this isn't like a published list of go do these in this order. This is stuff that if you like it, add it in, do it in the volume you prefer, and I definitely think you'll see progress from it. In and out. You're wanting to throw 1 or 2 shots that are relatively safe that you can throw in those transitory periods. So starting out of range, you can walk up, throw 2 shots you think are comfy. Might be, and something you can back out in guard and throw again. So now walk back up to it. You might throw and get back out in your guard. Walk up, might be a leg wrap head. So you'll enter range, throw your shots, and exit out. This is a really freestyle drill, but it makes you think about what are options I can throw that's safe. If you're throwing something that you're in that range for too long, if you're throwing big loopy moulinet to a big loopy flat or head wrap, that's not what you want for this drill. You're looking for safe kind of prodding attacks that you can throw in those transitory periods, typically which try to keep your guard somewhere safe. Throwing head keeps that sword somewhere where you're protected rather than throwing a leg where you're having to cover. So really just pay attention. Everything you do on the pell, think about actually doing it in a fight. If you had to do, if this pell was going to smash you in the head if you messed up, would you still throw those shots? 5th one I've got is iterative striking, working on recovery. Typically, we don't try to throw the same shot over and over and over again, but as a drill, as a training aspect outside of context, it can really work on that sword recovery. So throwing with mechanics, which if we have time at the end, I'll kind of go over body mechanics. This isn't a body mechanics class, but there's a lot of good ones, and maybe someone will do one in the future. If we have time at the end, I'll go over what I can. But this is really a body mechanics drill, and specifically a sword recovery drill. So this one, you're throwing the same shot a set amount of times and trying to rethrow it as soon as you can. So if I'm throwing let's just say a flat snap, I'm not wanting to take that pause and throw flat snap, recover, flat snap, recover, flat snap, recover. I'm trying to, as soon as that shot connects, I'm trying to get my sword back in that same path. And as soon as I've got my shape back, project back out to strike again. So if you do say we'll do 3 flat snaps, you're trying to throw 3 quick using your mechanics. You can do that with leg wrap, any shot you like. You're trying if you're a lefty or righty, you want to practice on 3 offside heads, whatever it might be, trying to get that reset time down. It's not go throw the same shot over and over, but if you can throw standing close to pell, instead of leg wrap, reset, leg wrap, reset, leg wrap. If you can throw back to back and kind of feeling in your arm and your shoulder when your sword gets back to that shape, when you get back whatever structure, that'll change depending on the fighter, depending on the fighting style. That reset point will change. So it's not whatever works for you, but just make sure you know where that comfy spot is, where your arm is good to throw again. Another one, which is actually good at this point because it's hot out here, feeling sweaty, breathing and relaxing. So at this point, you in the drill, if you got a good sweat going, you're running, you can look at stalling, not necessarily stalling, but fighting safely. If you know your body, if you need 10 seconds to get your breath back, you can take that in a fight. So playing smart, kind of shadow boxing the pell, throwing shots that'll keep you safe. You're not wanting to risk it all, but you're wanting to, kind of stay a little aggressive and take that time you need to breathe. So in practice, you've got your shield, you're up. You can do this in your helmet, whatever you want to do. And you'll fight. You're in a guard. Take your steps. Walk. Throw a shot. What keeps somebody off you? Maybe face fake to the leg. You got your shield high, making sure protection. Face fake, leg, back off. And just in this time, use this part of the drill as a chance to get your own breath back, just like you would in a fight. So you're retraining for the further parts of pelling, and also getting used to in a tournament. You're late in the tournament. You're starting to gas. You need 10 seconds to get your breath back under you. That is huge, and oftentimes can change who wins the fight. Address a question. What do you do to prevent learning bad muscle memory or to retrain poor habits? That is a good question. So preventing learning bad muscle memory is difficult. A lot of it is coaching. Definitely having somebody that has good body mechanics is really, really good. Definitely, I recommend it. If you find somebody at your fighter practice that you trust, that you want to fight like, and awesome. Find somebody close to you that you trust and be like, hey, if you see me throwing sloppy mechanics, let me know. I'm trying to get rid of it. And listen to your body. Bad mechanics almost always hurt or cause some sort of discomfort. If not initially, it will. So if your body doesn't like throwing, if you're like, man, I have that awesome flat snap, but every time I throw it, my arm starts to just tear up. You need to re-practice it. Do not throw shots that make you uncomfortable. I'm trying to avoid that. I know, every duchy comes with land and a shoulder surgery. So try to avoid that the best you can. As far as retraining poor habits is a lot of pelling and listening to your body. They're poor habits in terms of SCA. For anybody on here that doesn't know me, I started fighting in amp guards specifically, where we fight with foam weapons, really light, few ounce bats. So you're able to throw shots that aren't troublesome at all until you pick up rattan and try to throw those same shots, and it hurts your elbow, hurts your shoulder, hurts your wrist. So as far as retraining those mechanics if it's uncomfortable, listen to your body, throw them at the pell. Start weaning out the ones that hurt and ones that feel good. When you can throw it at what you would consider maybe 3 or 4 out of 10 on terms of your exertion, and it's landing solidly on that pell and you're getting a good transfer, that means the mechanics are there. So that's definitely on that. We've got, how do you determine what your pell program is going to be day to day? Do you have a process that you follow or just pick a couple? Typically, I just pick a few. It's definitely, I freeform it a lot. I do kind of the same with like weight training and stuff. It's good to have a regimented program, but a lot of the times it's based on fight. And recently it hasn't been because we're not doing live fighting. But if you note something down, like, hey, that fighter practice, I was getting smoked in the head. So I am going to work on shots that I can throw safely, or I'm gonna make sure I have my shield this week and make sure my shield's in good position the whole time with my helmet on. A lot of it's free form. You can pick a couple. The main ones, if you're doing the 1 through 6 often, a lot of the ones I'm going through right now, I don't do these every time. I don't do them super often, but it's just kind of something to mix up. As far as what you do all the time, 1 through 6 is great. If you fight with an offhand, make sure you're doing that. And even if you don't, It's good to work in some left-handed pell work. Or offhand if you're a lefty. Your left hand, if you're not trying to fight two-stick a lot, it doesn't have to be great, but everybody's had those awkward encounters where you both arm each other or you're down one, and being able to pull something out of your hat's really good. And if you never fight offhanded, you never get any skill points in it. So yeah, as far as day-to-day, 1 through 6 and the Dietrich drill, Tabata drill, whatever you want to call it. And though that is customizable too. Pick 4 shots, 4 combos, 5 combos you like, 8, however many sets you're doing. You can run 4 twice. You can run 8 straight through a few times. I try not to do too many in one day. If you're looking at volume, doing 4 shots or 4 combos a lot in a pell practice really kind of, by the end you've got that. I feel like it transfers into muscle memory a lot better than kind of just throwing all over the place. But just alternate, throw shots, make sure you're throwing shots that you like to throw, pelling a whole bunch of stuff. It's good to learn, but also pick your 3 favorite shots, make sure you're pelling them. Make sure they stay good. Yeah, no, videoing is always great. I posted a couple videos. I can comment on my YouTube channel. I haven't been posting a ton. I haven't been filming really, but I got a GoPro recently, and I'm like, hey, no reason not to. So I will be uploading some more on that end. What do you think makes for the quickest shot recovery? It's definitely, if I had to pick one, is recovering in that same plane and not over recovering. So if you're throwing in that shape, you're not wanting to stop here. You're not wanting to stop, all the way retracted. And so the quickest way to get back is returning in the same plane that you threw the shot. So if I throw a shot, let's just say here at the body, typically, again, this is my opinion. This is not 100% of the time. This is 90% of the time, unless you have a specific reason to do otherwise. You're not wanting to recover that sword low into your hip. This is inefficient. Doing slow work on these can really help because you're not trying to throw fast. You're trying to throw efficiently. If you really focus on shot efficiency, the speed will pick up. Speed is a byproduct of efficiency. So taking that shortest path to your target and shortest path back is going to increase your speed without really trying. Throwing that chop, I'm not wanting to recover to my hip and all the way back around. That's a longer path. And I'm also not wanting to rodeo it above my head, throwing and recovering high and all the way back. If I throw in this lane, I typically want my sword coming back in that lane and using the reverb. Xerxes kind of went over that in his class. If you haven't watched that, definitely should. But using the energy, once you feel it, of that strike to recover. So I'm not burying my sword and leaving it. I'm throwing and coming back off that bounce. Recovery speed's huge. For the most part, also just don't be afraid to throw more shots. Do a couple more questions, and then I got a couple more to go over, and I'll come back and wrap up the rest of the questions. How many days a week do I pell? It depends. Recently, work's been really crazy. At least 2. I try to do more. It really depends. I'd say 2 to 4. I've been wanting to tackle the 100-day pell challenge for a while, but pelling every day might be good, but with my work and home life schedule, I'd rather pell 2 to 4 times for a solid, consistent amount than come out and pell 15 minutes. It probably wouldn't help. I'd like to increase those numbers, and we'll try to as we go forward. But 2 to 4 times for an hour and a half or so. Even if you're only doing it for an hour a week total, if you pell for 1 hour a week, that's 52 hours, obviously, over the course of a year. And that can really, really stretch you ahead. Pell verb, absolutely. So a couple more that I wanted to go over real quick is throwing on the move. If you fight, you're gonna fight how you train. You're gonna do what you practice. So if you practice stomped down, standing there stoically, throwing shots at the Pell, that's what's gonna translate. So it's good to be able to throw on the move and circle right and circle left and have that 360 radius around your Pell, so you can move and throw shots and feel what is comfortable. So again, my audio will cut out as I'm back there, but if we'll start circling right, have your shield, walk in stance. You're not going to want to be, I don't know if you can see my feet, but you're not going to want to be crossing your feet. You're going to walk how you would if you were engaged, and circle, throw shots. You can do the same thing going left the other way and work on throwing shots. And don't just throw shots to the side you're going. A lot of the times your movement can be used as a setup. So if I'm circling left, I can circle left, throw something back right. Those are really good drills, so you're not having to set your feet every time. It's really good to have your feet set when you throw shots, but sports reference, Patrick Mahomes is special. He is a superstar because he can throw shots off platform. Most good quarterbacks and good fighters can throw a shot with their feet set in a perfect condition, with no pressure. But being able to make those off-platform throws or off-platform shots is kind of what separates solid from that next level. The last one I wanted to go over is block and counter. Again, common thing is people the Pell just stays there. Your opponent throws back. So this depends on your guard. If you fight in a high closed, high open, A-frame, pendulum, whatever you do, look at what your most common blocking positions are. And get really comfortable with throwing ripostes from those. So I'm going to grab my shield real quick. Mine's in my Jeep, but I use this one. But so whatever you're in, whatever guard you're taking, think about where you're blocking. So if you're in a high close, you're going to get to that hanging guard pretty often. You're going to get to, if you're in an A-frame, you're going to get to that low block pretty often. So riposting from those, get really comfortable. I'll stand over here. Get comfortable throwing from hanging guard, hanging guard, hanging guard. Throwing those shots, A-frame, whatever you are, if you're in a pendulum type or wherever you're commonly going to have to riposte from, make sure you're throwing shots from those points. That is a nice shield. It's smaller. I use it. My little Scutini is in the back of my Jeep, but block and counter is a good one because you don't always get to choose when you get to throw a shot. If somebody's laying India and you have to interrupt their, string of attacks, you're going to have to block and throw. Especially, I fight a lot of Florentine, dealing with that a ton. People are throwing, people are stabbing, people are trying to kill me. I oftentimes, block and have to immediately return and kind of interject your strike into theirs. And that's a really good drill for that. So that's the end of the kind of boxing drills that I have listed. Going over questions. 52 hours more than most people. Absolutely true on the comments. Again, right now is like double XP month or months, because if everybody else is fighting 0 and you are fighting some, you're getting double. So it's definitely a great time to train and a great time to make time if you can. It's been a rough situation for everybody. but no reason not to make the best of it. And practicing, at least for me, is a great way to kind of take my mind off. You get a good workout and something to focus on, and just be the best you can be when the next time we get together is. How much armor do I usually wear when hitting the pell? That is a good question. I would say, me personally, I don't really wear armor at the pell, but I also don't wear much. I wear minimums and forearms when I fight. My forearms are super light, so I don't really wear any body armor. If you wear body armor to fight, then I would recommend at least a third, maybe. Like, just make sure in your rotation you are putting it on. If you're wearing plate or you're wearing brigandine, something that's heavy, yeah, I definitely say work that in. If you wear minimums, it's not super important. Like, if you have good armor that doesn't impede you. If you have armor that impedes you to the point you feel you have to practice in it, and I don't mean by weight, but if it doesn't fit right or you don't have a full range of motion, I would focus on getting that armor fixed, be it strapped, padded, replaced, whatever you need to do to make it fit better, rather than wear that armor while pelling, if that makes sense. So yeah, when pelling, typically just sword and shield, or if I'm pelling two sword, I'll do that as well. Fight mostly with baskets. So if you are doing great sword or pole arm, then yeah, I would definitely say wear your gauntlets, because you don't want to be pelling weird hand manipulations you couldn't repeat in your gauntlets. But work around your shield at range. Yeah, absolutely. I will grab this shield's smaller than I usually use. I've got another one I'll grab that's bigger. That is good to practice at a pell. Typically, that's, again, I would defer this to somebody that is fights sword and shield a lot more. I fight a decent amount, especially recently, but as far as working around larger shields, I use a smaller center grip. I don't have to work around as much, but I'm happy to show what I know. I'll grab that in just a second. And then demonstrating Florentine, yeah, absolutely. I pell with two sticks some. I more often pell each hand individually. I work a lot of combos if I'm throwing it. But if you're picking up Florentine, like if you're like, I want to fight Florentine, which I think everybody should, at least practice, work on just your offhand for a while. Get that offhand able to competently throw shots, and then start picking up both swords. So let me grab another sword, another shield, and we'll go over that real quick. So here's a bigger Scutari type. As far as working around your shield, use the pell to kind of figure out what you can and can't throw. If you are comfortable throwing stuff at the pell, you should be comfortable throwing it in a fight. That is the sliding scale, advantage, disadvantage of, a buckler doesn't stop you from throwing anything, and a big Onstjoren barn door stops you from throwing a lot of shots, but gives you that passive protection. So I don't at least have any trick for throwing around the shield other than make sure you're maintaining a guard and not artificially cheating those shots. What I mean by that is, don't hold your shield in a spot you normally wouldn't, so you can throw. Don't hold your shield down here and throw. I can throw all these crazy shots, and in reality, you're walking up against an opponent like this. Hold your shield whatever guard you're going to be in. If you're in an A-frame, high close, high open, whatever you're going to fight in, make sure you're in that guard when you fight. So if you're fighting in a high close, make sure you're throwing those shots how you would throw them, and making sure that level of protection is there. Sorry if my audio cut out, but make sure your shield's in the right spot, and remember that bad guys can hit you in the head, the pell doesn't. So if you're pelling down here, you're probably going to get smoked in the head. So make sure you have something up. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to train your dumb hand, put your shield in your smart hand. The only magic trick I have for getting your offhand really good is tearing your UCL. I tore a ligament, the same one you have to get like Tommy John's for, wrestling my junior year of high school. And I was fighting amp guard at the time, so I spent like 10 months fighting offhand single sword, just kind of grabbing my belt. So obviously that doesn't that doesn't work for everybody, but after that, once I could start, PTing my right arm, I was like, hey, my left hand's pretty good. I don't want to waste it. And that's kind of what got me into fighting Florentine. But if you're able to, definitely fight offhand sword and shield. If you have somebody that's a fun partner, you can do offhand single sword against their single sword is a really good practice. Doing Florentine real quick. We're almost at that hour mark. I am fine to stay on, but if anybody, I will wrap up after Florentine pelling unless anybody has anything else. So if you have any questions you want to go over, pop those in before we wrap this up. The number one thing about Florentine pelling is you have two planes now that you have to track. Your shield is relatively static. For playing this as a shield, your shield pretty much stays where it needs to be, and you need to get your offhand to do that. Sure here. So whatever guard you like, typically I use a A-frame, hand in front of my face, one out, kind of in here. And what that does is I'm trying to take away the two things, and the most dangerous quadrant against a right-handed board is this one. I don't want to get flat snapped in the head. I don't want to get stabbed in the face. So I'm trying to passively take away the stab to the face and take away the flat snap to the head. What that does, though, is, one, I have something in front of my face, and two, I do have, look at it sideways, a little cross in my swords. I don't cross them like an X or anything. I don't cross them like that. But there is a cross up there. So making sure you're staying in a good guard when you pell is super important. Everybody, not everybody, but if you're new to fighting Florentine, or you think you're like, oh, Florentine, you just throw a lot of shots, that is the quickest way to die. If you walk out and you're like, I'm pelling, and I'm going to throw leg, head, throwing everything. That is, you always have to contend with, what if the other guy, I'll use Matsu for example, what if Matsu just stands there and flat snaps you in the head really hard? Can you stop that? So when I pell, I'm always imagining, if the pell could throw a flat snap at me, am I in any position to guard it? So safe openers and nice follow-ups. So safe openers, again, with that left hand, especially starting off, you don't need your left hand or your offhand to be able to throw everything. I'm a right, I'll use offhand as left hand, so if you're left-handed, just invert it. But you don't have to have your offhand able to throw every shot your right hand can. So initially pelling, you need to get a good lefty leg chop, lefty body wrap, and a lefty offside head. If you can get those 3 shots down with your offhand, you are halfway there. As far as pelling, don't just throw for the sake of throwing. Throw shots you feel comfortable. So if I'm pelling, I mostly just throw one-offs. Fighting 2-stick, I'll fight, throw a shot, boom, and I'm guarding. So I'm throwing. Any shot I'm throwing, I'm looking at that primary return. So if I'm throwing a leg chop, I'm getting into a hanging guard to try to take away that face stab, take away the flat snap to my head. From there, I'm looking at what's my next return. So that might be a flat snap. So if I'm pelling, I can throw, 1, step leg chop, hanging guard. 2, flat snap with a step. Boom. What am I doing with this offhand? Don't just leave it down in space. Try to get that back up. So you're getting recovering. Always look at it if you were looking in a mirror. And if you can, stand in front of a mirror and shadow box and get in your guard. A lot of people fight Florentine differently, but if you walk out like this, you're goal posting, you're standing flat-footed, you are pretty much able to be hit anywhere, and you want to deny that center lane. So make sure whatever guard you're taking when you're fighting your pell, you are covering that middle lane. That would get past that kind of gets more into a like 2-stick specific class, but for pelling, pell your offhand and hold something in your, make sure you're holding something in your other hand to not develop bad habits. How do you stop people from trying to trap your 2 swords together in that guard? That comes up a lot. One of it's range. The other one is my left hand still has the sword. So I'm trying to see, but they're not together. They're not here. If I'm standing in my guard, there's a separation between them. So from the front, it looks like a cross, right? They look X'd, but if I just rotate, there's space between them, right? So if somebody goes to try to chop that X, my left hand is free. So if I see that sword coming far to try to chop that X, just throw a shot behind it. That sword is still free to travel. So don't keep the swords so close together to the point that they are physically touching. You can do that if you're just relaxing, but when you're projecting out or you're in range, you can make sure there's space in there so this sword can clear through and throw a shot. So it's kind of, I mean, if somebody's trying to hook it, they might get it once, and that's great. But the rest of the time, throw in behind it and discourage it. If you throw a nice shot behind theirs to their elbow or to their leg, it's going to really disincentivize further trying to jump after and trap your swords, especially against a sword and shield guy. If they do jump in, that's okay. Go to A range, stay in your guard, stay protected, and work to free your swords. Yeah, it helps try to keep your swords working within your shoulder width so you don't leave yourself wide open down the middle. At least that's what Turn and taught me. Yep, absolutely. That middle lane, it's hard to block legs. It's hard to block hard shots straight down the middle. So definitely having something covering that center lane really makes you a lot more defensible because those outside shots are going to be easier reads. Yeah, if there's not any other questions, that kind of concludes everything I had planned for this evening. If there's any questions, feel free to post them. Otherwise, I am good to wrap up. I really appreciate you guys attending. It's been a tough stretch kind of globally, and I'm really excited to see my SCA friends and family here shortly.
Thank you, Jay. I really appreciate you leading tonight's class.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. If you're new to this series, the last few have been really, really good, and I hope they're definitely going to continue to be good. So I've definitely really appreciated you guys, Gustav and Derek, kind of promoting these and running them, and we'll be tuning in going forward.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jay.
I may be tapping your knowledge for future classes if we keep going. So next week, again, we'll be here 7 o'clock. And I've got classes set up through the 1st of July. And so hope everyone, I hope we can go back and meet on the field and have camaraderie and fight. But until then, we will do this as long as we can. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Jay.
Absolutely. You guys have a safe one.